Hi, good evening. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Morris area and our co-sponsors, Morristown Alumni Chapter Delta Sigma Theta Society, Inc., and New Jersey Hills Media Group Observer Tribune, I am pleased to welcome you to our Mendham Borough Board of Education Forum. My name is Barbara Coopersmith. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of the Morris area. I'm also one of the co-presidents and in charge of the voter services. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, nonprofit political organization, and therefore we never support or oppose political parties or candidates. Elections and votings are our core concerns, and empowering voters defending democracy is our mission. We are committed to providing fact-based information about issues and positions candidates take on those issues to help voters make their own decisions and participate in the electoral process. Member in the League is open to all ages and gender identities. We welcome volunteers whether or not you are a member. With 100 years of experience, the League is one of America's oldest and most trusted civic nonprofit organizations. I'd like to welcome our co-sponsors for this debate to speak. First, Kim Monroe, as I said, of the Morristown Alumni Chapter, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Incorporated.
Thank you, Barbara. Good evening. My name is Kimberly Monroe. I am the president of the Morristown Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is an organization of college-educated women with the commitment to the constructive development of its members and to public service with a primary focus on the Black community. We provide an extensive array of public service initiatives through our 5-point programmatic thrust: educational development, economical development, physical and mental health, international awareness involvement, and political awareness and involvement. We were founded at Howard University and has been committed to service of the community since our founding. And social action has been our forefront. Our 22 founders participated in the suffrage march and of 1913, just 2 months after establishing the sorority. And our members have been at the forefront of social and political struggles ever since. As part of our political awareness and involvement, the Morristown Alumni Chapter is engaged in voter registration, education, and mobilization in Morris, Sussex, Warren, and Hunterdon counties. We would like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting us to be a part of the Mendham Borough's Board of Education debate, and we look forward to a healthy debate tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kim. And Pat Robinson of the New Jersey Hills Media Group Observer Tribune, would you like to say something?
Sure, I'll have a few words. Thanks a lot, Barbara. Hi, good evening. My name is Pat Robinson. I'm the managing editor of the New Jersey Hills Media Group's Observer Tribune. Just wanted to tell you a little bit about why we're here tonight. The Corporation for New Jersey Local Media, who owns the New Jersey Hills Media Group, seeks to build strong communities through journalism and civic engagement. We also seek to enhance civic engagement by promoting professional community journalism, fostering public discussion of critical issues, and expanding access to educational programs. Now, we're partnering with the League of Women Voters in these candidate forums to provide citizens with the chance to hear the key issues and proposals by candidates during the election season so that they can have the information to make decisions based on information that is factual and practical. And by doing this, we think it provides a basis for sound decision-making that will not only improve dialogue and consensus building when it comes to community decisions, but strengthens ways to effectively communicate and understand each other. So if you're on tonight, I hope you listen and ask questions and take away what you can. So, and again, thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Pat. So thank you, everyone. And we encourage everyone to go to vote411.org. It's a one-stop League of Women Voters site for information on all aspects of voting in New Jersey, including statements on the issues from your candidates. And please, and you can also visit our website, lwvmorrisarea.org to learn more about our individual league. Remember, there's 3 ways to vote, and you can make your vote count, especially at the local level in a Board of Education or a council or committee race. You can vote by mail if you signed up for that, but it's also not too late for ask for it. There is early in-person voting using a machine, and that starts October 26th, November 3rd. There's also in-person voting, as always, on Tuesday, November 5th. This forum is being live streamed on the Morris Area LWV YouTube channel and will be available for viewing afterwards. Other language captions will be available when you live stream it after the fact. We encourage the sharing of the League's recording of this event in its entirety, but do not allow editing or making public any excerpts from the recording. The League name, logo, event recording, or any materials from the event cannot be used in a way that could lead a viewer or reader to infer League support of or opposition to a candidacy. At this time, I'd like to introduce our moderator, Joan Sturm. Joan is a League-trained moderator who is not from this voting district. She will introduce the candidates and outline the format for this evening. Go ahead, Joan.
Thank you, Barbara, and thank you, Kimberly and Pat, for joining us and co-sponsoring. I'd like to welcome the Mendham Borough voters for joining us tonight for this live streamed event on the League of Women Voters Morris Area YouTube channel. I want to thank you, candidates, for making the time tonight to participate in this virtual forum to answer some of the voters' most pressing questions. I'm pleased to be with you tonight as your League of Women Voters moderator. The purpose of the forum is dedicated to hear the candidates' views. This is a forum devoted to hearing the candidates' views that are representing the Mendham Borough Board of Education. It is one of the League of Women Voters' primary responsibilities to ensure that our voters are informed about who their candidates are and what their views and priorities are in a nonpartisan forum. So with that, I want to let everyone know that voters had an opportunity to submit their questions online. The varied questions I will be asking tonight have been reviewed by the League and our evening sponsors for length, clarity, and language. Now let's review the format for the debate, which the candidates are aware of. Each candidate will deliver a 2-minute opening statement. The way we have organized this is my personal preference. We're doing it in reverse alphabetical order because my last name is Sturm and I always come at the end of the alphabet. So I, for once, want to let someone who has a name towards the end of the alphabet to go first. So we will be doing that for opening statements and then reverse order for closing. Then we will start in with the questions. But before that, I just want to make sure everyone knows how we are letting the candidates know when they're coming close to the end of their 2 minutes. They will get a 30-second warning, and you're going to see flashed right now a yellow sign that says 30 seconds. This is what the candidates will see. The timer will show you what the 30 seconds looks like. Or maybe she won't, but you'll see it if it's a big, oh, there you go. It's a big yellow sign, just like traffic lights. Yellow means caution, you're coming to where you need to stop. And then at the 2-minute mark for the closing, you will see a red stop sign. The candidates are asked to stop speaking at the end of their sentence, no run-on sentences, no finishing their thought, actually a hard stop at the end of 2 minutes to be fair to each of them. Then we will, after we have opening statements, we will then go and have questions, which I have organized by category, and I'll share them with you. And the candidates will have 1 minute to answer the question. They will similarly get a 30-second warning from our timekeeper, Nancy, also from the League of Women Voters, who will then show 30 seconds into their 1 minute answer, and then stop, which will be after the 1-minute answer. Now, each of the candidates has the opportunity for any of the questions to initiate a rebuttal. And they simply raise their hand, and then I will see them. And once all of the 3 speakers have gotten to speak and answer the question, I will then let the first person who raised their hand for rebuttal speak. The other 2 speakers are open to have a rebuttal, but they are not required to. It's totally the candidate's choice. After the candidates have completed the rebuttal and question portion of our forum tonight, they will then each be able to do a 2-minute closing where they will similarly get a 30-second warning and a stop. So with that, we're going to get started, and we're doing it, as I said, in reverse order. So Lauren is going to go and deliver her opening statements first, then Deborah, and then Kristen. Now, I'm going to ask when they introduce themselves for their opening statement that they say their full name the way you will see it on the ballot, and then they will say how they want to be referred to tonight. And I hope I get it right. So I'll let you know that the first one is Lauren, and Lauren's name will be the same as you see it on the ballot, Lauren. So when the timer indicates that she's ready, we are going to let Lauren start with her opening statements. So I am going to let Lauren start when I say timer start. So timer, start your clock. Lauren. Oh, Lauren, you're muted. So let's just stop it for 1 minute. Timer, let's give it started again. Okay, let's start it again, and we will start the clock now. Lauren.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Lauren Triolanis, and this may actually be my first time going first for anything since my maiden name actually starts with a P. So a little bit about me. I am the mom of 2 girls, both attending Hilltop Elementary School. I have a 1st grader and a 3rd grader. I'm also an attorney specializing in public finance law, including school district law and municipal bond law. My family moved to Mendham about 5 years ago, and we were drawn to Mendham Borough for its wonderful schools, which I truly believe are the heart of our community. As a parent of 2 students in the district, I really do have a vested interest in ensuring that our schools remain successful. I believe all students in our community should have the opportunity to thrive and to achieve their full academic potential. My role as a parent has definitely provided me with a unique perspective into the needs and the challenges that our students face in today's environment. And as an attorney that's been practicing public finance for over 17 years, I'm also aware of the challenges that school districts do face when it comes to rising costs and the pressure to make necessary improvements to outdated school facilities and equipment while still maintaining balanced budgets. I feel that I have the expertise to assist the district in navigating these issues, including experience with funding structures, bond measures, managing capital improvement projects, and accessing grant programs, as well as ensuring that those funds are used legally and efficiently to maintain fiscal responsibility and transparency with the community. I think schools need long-term financial planning to grow and to be successful, and I certainly believe that my education and work experience has provided me with the necessary skills to help to grow and improve our Mendham Borough School District. And I believe I can add significant value to the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lauren. We'll now turn it over to Deborah for her opening statement. Deborah.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Durso, and I'm completing my 1st term on the Mendham Borough Board of Education, and I'm seeking a 2nd term. I have a vested interest in the school district because I'm the grandmother of a 4th grader and a 6th grader. And I'm also a taxpayer in the borough. So I understand that having a good school helps with our property value. Along with that, though, however, you have to be fiscally responsible. Those are the goals I want, but you have to be aware of the cost it is to the community. I've lived in the Mendhams for 45 years, and I've been very engaged. I've sat on the Mendham Township Board of Education for numerous terms and served as its president. Currently, I volunteer in the Mendham Borough and Mendham Township libraries, and I work the polls on election day. My education is I have master's degrees in speech, special education, and school administration. I began my career as a speech pathologist, went on to become a learning disabilities teacher consultant, and then morphed into school administration. I was a vice principal, a principal of a school with 600 students. I found it a very rewarding experience. I would have to say the most wonderful thing that has happened to me since I've been on the Board of Education is the day that the Hilltop School was named a Blue Ribbon School and a school of character. Those are difficult things to accomplish, and I think the entire community should be proud of the school system. And my goal is to continue improving it and strengthening the ties between the school and the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. And now to finish up the opening statements, Christy.
Kristen.
Kristen.
Chrissy.
Oh,
Or Chrissy. Chrissy's fine.
Chrissy.
Thank you. Hello. First, thank you to the League of Women's Voters and their co-sponsors for inviting us this evening for this forum. Thank you to any voters that are watching live or maybe watching this on delay. Being an informed voter is so important in our local elections. I am Kristen Adenolfi, and I am seeking a second term with the Mendham Borough Board of Education. I am truly proud of the work that the board has done in the first 3 years of my tenure. We have, as Deb mentioned, the blue ribbon designation at Hilltop. That was a thrilling day for all of us to go along with our school of character. The redesignation of Mountain View Middle School as a school to watch, which is an all-encompassing honor, not just academics, but how we are actually developing our students to be good humans, as Principal Toth says. We also hired a reading coordinator who has aligned the literacy across all of the grade levels. Additionally, we've been a part of bringing the community together with extracurricular activities, championships in basketball and cross country. And I'm also a proud supporter of the community strategic plan, which I participated in last year. All of us on the board did, which the community came together and told us what they wanted from their school district. I'm a mom. I have 2 sons. One is in high school, so he just finished up his time in Mendham Borough schools, and he was well prepared. I also have a son in 4th grade at Hilltop, so I know what parents have and are invested in. Most of the kids in Mendham Borough actually know me as Coach Chrissy. I coach 3 different sports, and I'm an educator. As a 1st grade teacher during the day, I am proud to be a part of growing the future for all students, including those in Mendham Borough. So I'm seeking a second term, and I hope that I am considered.
Thank you, Chrissy. Now we'll begin with the questions. I'll be opening with questions in 4 major categories. First, about your background and reasons for seeking election, then getting into district's educational programming, followed by balancing fiscal priorities, and then closing with questions regarding your view of the role of the school board. So first, Deborah will be initiating the start of our questions, and she'll be answering our first question. Deborah and the other candidates, each of you have indicated why you are running for this board position. Now please share with us what particular issues motivate you to run for the Board of Education, and if elected, what will be your priorities? Deborah.
Well, one of the first things that got me interested in running for the board was I wanted to build the relationship between the Board of Education and the community, make it stronger. I felt there wasn't a lot of communication between the school district and the community at large. They were very good at communicating with the parents, but not so much our general taxpayers. And so that was one of the things that I set about doing my first term in, reaching out, getting dates of when meetings were published, trying to encourage people to come to the meetings. And I would continue along that vein so that everyone can participate in what the school needs and our future down the road.
Thank you, Deborah. Chrissy, next to answer the same question.
So I sought election originally because I was the only parent that was running at the time and the only parent on the board. Luckily, there has grown and Lauren's interest in the board has been there. I do think that the parents need a voice in the school board along with the community. Deb is absolutely right. We do need to do a better job. And I think we've come a long way in the last 3 years, speaking to the community, understand what they're looking for. Like I said, the strategic planning meetings invited community members from parents that don't have children in the school district yet to retirees, business owners. Everyone participated in that particular plan. I sought the school board also. I chose Mendham because of the school district and the lower tax rate compared to what we get here. Our tax rate is much better than other communities. And I wanted to be a part of that success. And so I thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy. Lauren, finish up this question.
Sure, absolutely. So, amongst other wonderful things, the school district was certainly the number one thing that drew my family to Mendham, which is just known for excellent schools. And, really, I'm passionate about education, and I'm really driven by my children. I am driven by a desire to keep the schools as excellent as they've been over the years and just really maintain that high level of academic success for our children, while also maintaining low tax bills and fiscal stability. And I really saw an area and had a vision where I think that my work experience can be very relevant in that regard. So yeah, I would say it was those two things, having that vested interest, my children, and wanting to help out from a fiscal standpoint.
Thank you, Lauren. Question number 2, Chrissy, you will be the first to answer this question. What differentiates you from the other candidates? Please include your particular experiences or skills.
Well, the difference between me and the other candidates is that I am currently a primary school educator. I work in first grade at a neighboring district. However, my experience is much deeper than that. I spent 20 years in corporate America, where I learned negotiation skills, collaboration, the ability to work with many people to come to a win-win situation. After 20 years there, in about 2020, I was so passionate about education and decided that where I wanted to spend my next part of my career was in a school. So I did take on the alternate pathways program that New Jersey has, and am currently in my second year as a first grade teacher. So that experience gives me the ability to look from the ground up when I'm having conversations at the school board where we're starting from the top down.
Thank you, Chrissy. Next to answer the question is Lauren.
Sure. So what differentiates me? I think my corporate work experience, and in particular, my legal experience, has provided me with analytical skills. I have to process a tremendous amount of data, in high volumes of data in absolutely ever-changing environment, where the laws are always changing and you have to get on board and keep up to speed. So I think that can be a tremendous asset. I also work with all different groups of people, from public entities, school districts, municipalities, to other attorneys and anyone, with a vested interest in whatever deal that we're doing, and personalities of all sorts come forward. So I've really learned how to collaborate. And since the work that I do is not considered adversarial in nature, it's not litigation, I really enjoy that. And I've learned for sure how to collaborate with people, all working towards a common goal, which is my sense of the role of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you. And now to finish up answering this question, Deborah.
I would say what differentiates me is the fact that I have a vast knowledge of education. Having been in a leadership role as a principal, the fact that I've had vast experience in the area of special education, it really comes in very handy when we look at test results, when we try to interpret in what direction we need to go, where the district is lacking in certain areas of curriculum. I would say that is my forte. And I've spent an entire career working with staff members board members, the public. And so I feel I have natural born negotiation skills.
Thank you, Deborah. Question number 3, Chrissy, you'll be the first to answer this question. What issues do you believe your district needs to address in its academic programming? Include in your response what your school district could do better to prepare students as citizens and contributing members of the workforce.
Well, I feel very strongly about that Mendham Borough Schools is doing an excellent job at preparing our students to be citizens of the world. I think in our academic programming, what's critical is making sure that our education workforce, our teachers are consistent, that they have quality programs to work with. Both of these things we have now, but with the changing landscape of education, teachers are changing, are moving, are leaving the profession, and we need to make sure that they are there to be consistent. As evidenced by Hilltop's School of Character, which is supported by the Board of Education, by Mountain View's designation as a school to watch, we are doing things to ensure that they are ready to be good humans in the world. And I'd like to continue that work in the future.
Thank you, Chrissy. Next, Deborah, same question.
I would say what I would like to see develop more is a greater dialogue between all of the elementary schools, the middle schools that send to our high school. I think it's very important that we prepare our students to move on to that next level so that they can become citizens of the world.
Thank you, Deborah. Last to answer this question, Lauren.
Yeah, I think definitely a focus on preparedness for the next level. But also I'm extremely interested and focused on preparing students in the area of STEM, in technology advancements, in science, and providing children with the ability to problem solve and critical thinking. Those are certainly areas that I would focus on. But overall, I think that our district just does a wonderful job, and particularly when it comes to preparing children as far as character and social emotional learning skills, which I also feel are extremely important.
Thank you, Lauren. Now, question 4, Lauren, you will be the first to answer this question. What is the role of schools in teaching children about topics such as diversity, safety, sexual education, mental and emotional wellness, and bullying? And Lauren, you'll be the first to talk about that.
Sure. I think that the school has a very important role in all those respects. I think it is important. Two things are very important. One is to consider the age appropriateness for each of those topics, and also transparency, particularly with respect to, as you mentioned, health and sex education and how that's being presented to our children in varying different age groups. But I think that a lot of times, unfortunately, children either feel uncomfortable or do not have the opportunities to have those important conversations at home. So the school can be, vital in that respect. Personally, I think it's necessary to have, but I would, put my trust in and rely on our curriculum advisors to develop curriculum in those areas, what's being presented to our children. And then, I put my trust in our teachers to be able to relay those lessons in age appropriate manner.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you. Chrissy, you're next to answer this question.
So I think what's very important to start with is that our schools should be a welcoming place for everyone. They should feel safe. No one should feel bullied or intimidated in any way. Whatever their orientation is or cultural background is, they should be welcomed in our schools. The role as a school in those tougher conversations really needs to make sure that it starts with a partnership with the parent community. They need to talk to the community about what they expect our students to learn. Some of these things, truthfully, are dinner table conversations and should be part of the parents first. with the school supporting the growth at home. And that beyond welcoming, that's it.
Thank you, Chrissy. Deborah, last to answer this question.
Well, I would say the most important component of all of this is the parent. The parents, this stuff starts at home, tolerance, understanding, and I think it's the school's job to create an environment where the children feel safe. I have to say, the middle school and the elementary school have done an excellent job. If there's ever a hint of bullying or a child feeling uncomfortable, the parents reach out, the children reach out, and we have HIB, harassment, intimidation, and bullying reports, so that the administration and the teachers are well aware of it, and they do an excellent job handling it.
Thank you, Deborah. It's interesting. Each of you mentioned the parents' role in that question, which leads us into our next question. What is your position on the extent? Oh, wait a minute. I'm supposed to say who's going to go next. This is number 5. Chrissy, you're going to be answering this one first. What is your position on the extent and nature of parental involvement in the school curriculum, school library, and the safety and identity of all students? Specifically, but not limited to, do you think the school board has a role in limiting access to certain books or films, or do you believe that should be the decision of the school librarian or teachers? Chrissy.
So I don't believe that we should be limiting the access for our students. I do rely heavily on our curriculum committee, on our superintendent and our school librarians to monitor those things. I think, though, that parents need to be involved. They should understand what's being taught in the classroom. They should have an understanding of what books are available in the library. One story over the last couple of years that there was a parent who was concerned about some of the materials in our library. Our school district, our school board is very open to the conversations to explain the relevance of the content and why it was available. And I think that parent felt a lot better just having the conversation. And so parents need to be included in that conversation at all times, and any concerns should be addressed. However, I will say that I think we do need to rely on our educators to make the decision of what's available to our students.
Thank you, Chrissy. Deborah, next to answer that question.
I feel that the decision should be left in the hands of the educators, quite frankly. I think there's a curriculum committee, parents' input is accepted and encouraged. And the curriculum is usually placed online so the parents have access to look at it, to decide if there's something objectionable in it. If there's something that a parent feels so strongly about, they can opt their children out of the program. They can opt to not have them use a particular text. So there's never a feeling that they've lost control. They can always, give us the feelings they have, opt out of a program, and they're really part of the process. So we really haven't had a problem with parents as far as our curriculum.
Thank you, Deborah. And Lauren, to finish up this question.
I think parent input is crucial. To that end, I know we have a parent council. We have ample opportunities for parents to be heard. I'd like to think that the board is very open in making themselves available for questions or concerns regarding curriculum. That said, I really do think we need to put our trust in our advisors. They are skilled in the areas of curriculum and skilled educators, whereas I am not. And in my job, I would want people to ask questions. I would want them to take an interest, but I wouldn't want someone necessarily telling me, how to read or interpret the law if they did not have the relevant experience. So I really do think we need to take all of the input and make sure that people feel heard. But ultimately, yes, I do think that the decisions should be left to our curriculum advisors.
Thank you. Next question, and Lauren, you'll be the first to answer this one. What are your thoughts on your school district programs for special ed students, English language learners, and the gifted and talented students? Lauren.
Well, as far as English learners and IEP, and I do recognize that there are state guidelines that govern these areas, but what I do love is how students who have different learning needs are fully integrated into classrooms with other children. I really think that this is tremendous for children who do not have special needs and children who do have differing needs, because it teaches the one about acceptance, and it teaches the other that, they can be fully integrated and that they can learn as a part of a classroom. I think the district has done a wonderful job. We've managed to keep class sizes small. My daughter was in a class where there were 2 teachers, and I felt received even more individualized attention. I think we can always look at grant programs and options for additional help for students who need it. And aggressively pursue those. But I think the district is doing a great job of that. And I know we do have a gifted and talented program for that as well.
Thank you, Lauren. Deborah, next to answer that question.
Well, I would have to say that we have an excellent English language learner program, and it's really developing because we've had more children in that program than we've ever had before. So it's been an interesting transition for us. I think we provide G&T gifted for our children in the lower grades. It's not so much vertical, it's more horizontal enrichment. And with the upper grades, it is a horizontal, a vertical enrichment. I think as far as special education, I think we provide as much as we possibly can in district. Many times, children have to go out of district because their needs are so specific that we can't address them. We do many times put a second teacher in a classroom when we find there's several children that have IEPs or 504s. So I think the district tries very hard to individualize instruction as much as possible.
Thank you, Deborah. And last to answer the question, Chrissy.
So these are always tough questions to ask or answer in a general sense. I think that, and what Mendham Borough School District does very well, is that they get to know every single student. I think the benefit of being a smaller district and well-resourced is that we can address each student individually and really paint a picture of who they are. As Deborah mentioned, the English language learners program is growing. It has become a need for us. Our special education program is not as robust as it would be in a larger district, but we make a very concerted effort to meet every learner's needs. And if we do need to, and the Board of Education always supports recommendations from the superintendent and the director of special services, if a student needs to be placed out of district, then we make sure we accommodate them. Because this really is about the student. This isn't about a general policy. And Mendham Borough does that. They look at the student and give them what they need, whether they need special education.
Thank you, Chrissy. The next question, Deborah, you'll be the first to answer this one. What does a school, before I say that, the next 3 questions have to do with fiscal priorities for the school board. Next question, how does a school board balance the need to provide a quality education with the need to respond to the local taxpayer burden? Deborah.
Well, that is getting to be more and more of a challenge, quite frankly, because salaries go up, health benefits go up, operational costs go up. So it is very difficult, no matter how conscientious and how astute the board is about managing money and our superintendent. It's very difficult, to be perfectly honest with you. We do the best we can. We try to keep our budgets, controllable, but it's very hard when you're locked into a teacher's salary guide where the increases are automatic, and insurance we have no control over. So yes, that is an ongoing struggle financially, to be honest.
Thank you, Deborah. Lauren, same question.
So I think you're driven by, student excellence and academic excellence. And I think you look at the budget for areas that you can identify cost saving measures without sacrificing the quality of education that students are receiving. And some things that I would consider looking at if I were elected is cost saving in the areas of, looking at contracts with our various different vendors, negotiating contracts. I mean, easier said than done, right? But these are the things that, you might be going back to the negotiating table. Something that's very, very big right now is, regular audits of energy and resource efficiency audits. Things like that can really open up areas in the budget. Increased use of grant funding and aggressively pursuing grants, or all areas that I could think of that would not sacrifice curriculum or student academic.
Thank you, Lauren. Chrissy, the last to answer this question.
So I do think that it is difficult to continue with the rising costs of everything from salaries to healthcare. However, we can look at making sure that what we do have is quality. We are lucky that the community strongly supports the school district. I feel that they want smaller class sizes, they want quality educators, and for the most part, the voters don't bring up the rising cost yet, and they might in the future. As part of the school board, something that we constantly look at is making sure that what we do spend money on is the absolute best. So we look for dual certifications for our teaching staff. We don't have a heavy administration. There aren't vice principals and vice superintendents and directors of this and directors of that. We keep it very lean, and what we have is the best for what we're paying for it. And so I look forward to continuing that work in my second term.
Thank you, Chrissy. Chrissy, you will be the first one to answer this next question. Since you're all talking about the school budget, I'd like you each to share what are your thoughts on the proposed budget for your school district for the coming year. And we will start with Chrissy.
Yes. The school budget, I mean, there is not a lot of fat in it. The largest portion of it, as it should be, is to our educators. Our teachers are the biggest part of our budget, which goes directly to the students. Quality staff in the building, in the rooms with them, is where we should be spending our money. So our budget, I totally agree with. There isn't much that we can do. We do look at contracts regularly, as Lauren mentioned in the last answer, to make sure that we can save on vendor services, things like snow removal, landscaping. However, after 3 years of reviewing the budget, I have supported it, and I think we make very good fiscal decisions.
Thank you, Chrissy. Lauren, same question.
Yeah, as Chrissy said, teacher turnover has been a big concern of mine, and in talking to parents, I know it is a concern of the community. Unfortunately, in today's environment, and it's different than maybe it was years ago, where you'd have teachers for 25, 30 years, and now you have to look at different ways to attract and retain teachers. So I'm delighted to see in the budget that teacher recruitment is and the quality of the staffing and administration that we are recruiting to the district is a priority, because that does go directly to the education that our children are receiving. So I certainly applaud that.
Thank you, Lauren. Deborah, the last to answer this question.
Well, I've always supported the budget because I feel that we've done as much as we can. There's really no fat in it. We religiously look to find the best bidder. We try to work with other districts when we can bid out things collaboratively. There are just items in the budget that, as Chrissy referred to, salaries, that's a fixed item. And I hear what Lauren's saying about teacher retention. The problem is teacher retention is not just a financial issue. Other things drive teachers to leave districts. It's just not money. It's family demands. It's husband getting transferred. It's opportunities in other districts to move into administration. So we can certainly make a nice environment for our teachers and provide them with, substantial increases. But bottom line is, if a teacher is going to leave, there's very little we can do about it.
Thank you, Deborah. So Deborah, you're going to be the first to answer the last question on fiscal and budget. And you've all shared your thoughts about the proposed budget. So now we can really get into the details of how would you determine budget priorities. Please share with us and identify the areas you would insist on keeping. And if you had to cut the budget, what would be the areas that you would look to make budget cuts? Deborah, you go first.
Well, that's an interesting question. There's not a lot of room to cut things in a budget. If you looked at the budget as a pie, the discretionary part of that pie is very, very little. Teacher salaries, health benefits, operational expenses, those are not things you can cut, not things you'd want to cut. And we try to get grants as much as possible for items to supplement where we can. I think it would be, I'd be remiss in telling you there's things that we could pull out of that budget. I think we're running very close to the bone as it is. I don't see how that's possible, certainly in the borough's budget.
Thank you, Deborah. Chrissy, same question.
Well, I agree. I think our budget is very efficient, the priorities, but when we're looking at our fiscal budget, and as we're coming into yet another year, and we'll be looking at the budget in February and March coming forward, community input is heavily important. And we did we did the strategic planning, and nobody brought up spending less. There was a request for more community spaces, such as an auditorium. There was talk about more science labs. There was talk from the community about spending even more. However, we are not going to sacrifice the quality of the education, the quality of the teachers we have, and we are certainly not going to sacrifice facility upgrades or maintenance, not upgrades necessarily, but we're not going to sacrifice maintenance or safety. And I think in today's environment, safety has to be a priority. So like Deb, I don't see a lot of fat to cut, but if there was something, I'd be listening to the community.
Thank you, Chrissy. The last to answer this question, Lauren.
Sure. So my priority, as mentioned, is certainly teacher salaries. That's certainly something that I would not look to cut. Other than the areas that I mentioned, I certainly think that, it's a challenge. I've reviewed the budget, and unfortunately, there's not a lot there. And I think the general consensus is that it's been time since facilities have been upgraded. You certainly do not want to sacrifice student safety. And then the other side of it is you certainly do not want to allow facilities to fall into disrepair, because it's just going to be that much worse when something becomes a safety issue and a risk, and then needs to be repaired later. It's more costly. So I think that the board has done a very good job of identifying those priorities. And yeah, I would certainly stress the priority of, keeping our teachers happy and retaining our wonderful teachers.
Thank you, Lauren. Chrissy, you brought up the topic of safety in the schools. And the first one to answer this will be Chrissy. I'd like you to talk a little bit about your views of safety in the school in our current environment of what's going on across the country, and your view of the use of cell phones in the schools. Chrissy.
Thank you. So safety is an important topic for me. I grew up in Southern California, outside Los Angeles in the 1990s. I didn't have a safe school to attend, particularly during high school. Lockdowns were regular. School shootings were something that occurred because of the gang violence. So safety is a top priority. Fortunately, Mendham is the absolute opposite of where I grew up. Our students are safe. We do have to be careful, though, about the invisible threats. Those things like what occurs online, what the bullying that happens in social media. Personally, I don't think cell phones belong in the elementary school, and I think they have limited use in the middle school. The high school does use applications on the cell phone when they are teaching, and for that purpose, perhaps 7th and 8th graders should have a cell phone available to them for academic purposes within the school building.
Thank you, Chrissy. Deborah, next to answer this question.
Okay, I would say I think that cell phones do not belong in the school. I think if a child needs a cell phone because they're a latchkey child or they're walking home and the parents want to monitor them, I think that's all well and good. It should be off and in their backpack or off and in their desk. It should not be readily accessible. I think as far as safety, I would say Mendham Borough Schools does an excellent job at assessing situations. There was a situation at our elementary school that led to a lot of congestion, and the principal didn't feel comfortable with the way things were in the morning at arrival time. They addressed it. They changed the situation and made it safe. So it's constantly evolving. I would say our principal at the middle school and the elementary school are very sensitive to keeping our children safe, whether it be drop off in the morning with cars coming and going, whether it be, the fire drills.
Thank you, Deborah. And Lauren, to finish up the answer to this question.
Sure. So I definitely do not think that cell phones belong in the schools, particularly at the elementary school level. I think if there is a special circumstance or a need, that the phone should be taken and should be kept off for the day because they are a distraction. And I think there are ample ways of contacting parents in emergency situations or the ability to notify parents. Safety is an utmost concern and will always be a priority of mine. I don't think that we can, fall asleep and say Mendham is this safe community because we've seen tragedies in communities similar to Mendham. So I promised, if I'm elected, I will take a hard look at the current policies regarding safety, not just, as far as our facilities and access to our facilities as well.
Thank you, Lauren. Chrissy, I see that you raised your hand and you would like to have a 30-second rebuttal to one of the comments that the candidates made.
Yes, and I think that one of the most important things as we talk about addressing safety issues in the school is that we are a small district, and as they come up, and if something needs to change and action needs to be taken, it can be done. And we have received the emails in the middle of the day as a Board of Ed, giving us a heads up from the superintendent when a policy is changing. And that nimbleness is important to keeping our students safe and well taken care of.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, yes. Deborah, you have a chance to do a 30-second rebuttal.
Okay. I would just say that we are constantly evolving. We never take it for granted. As Chrissy said, because we are Mendham, we don't want to get into that lackadaisical, it won't happen here. And we are not. They're ever vigilant. Our administration is ever vigilant.
Thank you, Deborah. So we will close the rebuttals on this question and we will move on to the next question. And actually, Deborah, you'll be the first to answer this. What is the best way to address differences of opinion on the board or between the board and the administration and the superintendent? And could you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of? I'd also like you to talk about, as part of this, once the school board does make a decision, how do you think you communicated to your constituents, whether it was something you agreed upon or not? So how does the community learn about that? Deborah?
We speak as one voice. It's like a family. When we're behind closed doors, everyone has an opinion and we voice them, and then we vote and the majority rules, and then we support it because we don't want infighting. When the board president speaks, she speaks for the board. We've already aired all that laundry privately, and now she speaks for the board. And I think that's the way it has to be. I am one person, and I do not represent the whole Board of Education. So Deborah Durso can have an opinion, but it shouldn't be reflected of the board.
Thank you, Deborah. Next to answer that question is Lauren.
So I certainly think it's unrealistic to think that my views are always going to align with that of 8 other people. You know, it's a democratic process, and I have respect for that process. You know, what I can do is clearly state my views and advocate for my values. But if I'm outvoted, I think it's important to respect the outcome just to preserve the unity and the functionality of the board. As Deborah said, we all, you know, the board is one unit. We act together, and you know, and in that, I'm confident that policies are reevaluated, and that I will have other opportunities to voice my answer.
Thank you, Lauren. Chrissy, you get to finish up this question.
So as someone who has had differences of opinion with members of our Board of Education, I think the best way to handle it is openly and honestly. And I deeply respect everybody that I serve with right now. One of the strengths of Mendham Borough is the consistency and the cohesiveness of our Board of Education, the support that we give our superintendent, and we always put students first. So even though we may all disagree, and there have been times where I've had to be convinced, I truly love that my fellow board members will take the time to explain things to me. If we have a question for the superintendent, she is always available to any of us. We will email her. I mean, I've emailed her late at night, and I've gotten a phone call on my cell phone. So we all work very, very hard to stay one voice. And if a decision comes through that I didn't support, I mean, I think I've had one no vote. That's my opinion, but I have to agree with the board.
Thank you. Deborah, you have now raised your hand for a rebuttal. You will have a chance to do a 30-second rebuttal. Deborah.
I think to Chrissy's point, exactly. I think our superintendent supports transparency, and she's very receptive to anything a board member says, and she does get back to us in a timely fashion. And the board, we might disagree, but I agree with Chrissy. Everybody respects each other, and that's how we function, quite frankly.
Thank you, Deborah. So we're now going to move on to our last question, and it's a tough one. It's a tough one that we all are dealing with in society. We read a lot about, oh, wait a minute. The first one to answer this is going to be Lauren. We read a lot about the pervasive mental health problems, anxiety, suicide, drug abuse among American students. Are you aware of significant health issues in the Mendham Borough schools? And if so, what would you propose to attack these problems beyond what's already being done? Lauren.
I'm not personally aware of specific significant health issues, but I am aware that's well aware that is the environment that we are currently living in and dealing with. I think that it is of the utmost importance to provide for and budget for counselors and support in our schools, so that children have access to that support outside of the home if they feel for whatever reason that they can't have those discussions at home. I think the school has a role in that. I know we have wonderful counselors in Hilltop. And I would continue those programs of meeting regularly with those students, as I know our Hilltop counselor currently does, to get on top of those issues. And we have a tremendous an anti-bullying, I know, procedure.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Lauren. Chrissy, next to answer this question.
So I think that we are shielded by being a K-8 district from the real tough parts of mental health right now that our teenagers and young adults face. However, as an affluent community, a community that has high expectations for our students, there is a bit of anxiety. I think that the COVID pandemic left a mark on our students. However, as a school board member, as a parent, I absolutely support the two counselors. We have two full-time counselors, one at each building, which is unheard of in a district this size. And I think that that is very important that we teach our students coping mechanisms. At the middle school right now, we just heard a presentation about a parent book club that's taking place that's teaching our parents how to talk to middle school students. And I think that's how we address this. I mean, this is a tough question, and we are addressing it head on in Mendham Borough.
Thank you, Chrissy. Deborah, the last to answer the last of our questions tonight.
I would say, I would agree with Chrissy. Anxiety is an issue because we have achieving parents who want children to achieve. Everything from making sports teams to achieving A's to getting on honor roll. I think we are very fortunate to have a counselor at each school. And I think because of the size of our school, those counselors can really be in tune with the students and make it their business to reach out to them. And we did have a wonderful presentation last night by our middle school principal and guidance counselor about this new program they're going to start with the parents. And it was exciting just to hear about it. They're going to work with the children during the school day, and then they will meet with the parents, a group in the morning, the group at night, to discuss what they did with the children, to give the parents the clues and the language to deal with their own children. It's a wonderful thing.
Thank you, Deborah. Oh, Chrissy, you've raised your hand for the 30-second rebuttal, and I'm now going to let you begin your 30-second comment.
Yes, and I just want to echo that again, parent partnership is an absolute priority in this district. It's an absolute priority as a parent of mine and as a school board member to make sure that our community, particularly our parents, are involved at every step, including our mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Chrissy. I want to, before I have you wrap up with your closing statements, I want to thank you for responding to the questions and really providing information to our voters, not only on your views, your priorities, your understanding of the role of the board, but also just in educating the Mendham parents on the robustness and fullness of what's being offered in the Mendham Borough School. It's obvious that you're very proud of your school district. So with that, I want to turn it over to our 2-minute closing per candidate. And we're going to start with you, Chrissy, because you were the last to go with the opening statements. We'll then follow it with Deborah and then close it out with Lauren. Chrissy, 2 minutes.
Well, first, thank you to anybody that's viewing this live or on delay for making it this far. Again, your vote matters. We're a small community, and I hope that you show up in November and choose one of us or me. I'll be honest. However, I would just want to wrap up. And again, I want to echo that I'm a mom. I have students in the district. I have a student that's left the district, so I know what we need when we get to high school. I'm a coach. I've invested heavily my time, my energy into the youth of Mendham. I've never missed a school. I've missed one school board meeting in 3 years. And I am very passionate about the success of our students. I'm also an educator, and this is something that I made later in life. This wasn't a choice when I was 22. I have a definite passion for quality education. I moved to Mendham 13 years ago in order to be a part of a school district where my children would have the best education. But most importantly, our educational system is supported by our community, and strong community support, strong community voice is what makes this Board of Education excellent. And I hope to serve another 3 years with this group of people and continue on this path. We're facing a lot of changes in Mendham with growth, and I think continuity is absolutely important to keep our successes going. So I thank you, and I thank the League of Women Voters and the co-sponsors of tonight's forum, and best of luck to my fellow candidates, Deborah and Lauren.
Thank you, Chrissy. And before I turn it over to Deborah, Chrissy, I just want you to present exactly how your name will appear on the ballot so people will be able to associate you, your face, and Chrissy with how they'll see it on the ballot?
Yes, so it'll be under Kristen Adenolfi, and I'm in the third ballot spot, so you'll be able to find me nice and easily. So Kristen Adenolfi. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. And now we will turn over closing comments to Deborah. Deborah?
Okay, I'd like to begin by thanking the League of Women Voters, providing the community an opportunity to get to meet the candidates and hear what we have to say. I feel that I'm a excellent candidate for the board because of my educational background. I think I bring a uniqueness to the board, having been a principal, and my knowledge in special education. Also, being a longtime resident of the community, I feel that I have a really good understanding of what the expectations are for the community, what they want for their children. And being a grandmother with children in the school, grandchildren in the school district, I definitely have a vested interest in keeping this school district doing its best. I encourage all of you to go to the polls and vote on November 5th. As well as mail-in ballot or early voting. We have many, many options, but I encourage you to vote. And I would ask for your vote in support of getting on the board, but you have wonderful choices this year. Just exercise your vote.
Thank you, Deborah. And before I turn it over to Lauren, Deborah, they know they've heard you tonight, they've seen your face, but please indicate exactly how your name will appear on the ballot.
My name will appear as Deborah Durso, and I am in the second position on the ballot.
Thank you, Deborah. And now, Lauren, you get to finish up our closing comments before we close for the night. So you have 2 minutes, as did Chrissy and Deborah. So please share your closing comments with the group.
Thank you so much to our listeners and to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to participate this evening. And I hope that it was informative. It really is so important to be informed when going to the polls. I am incredibly eager to have the opportunity to serve my school district and our community as a school board member and to serve with the wonderful board members. As a parent of 2 children in the district and an attorney specializing in school finance, I believe I can add value ensuring the financial health and operational success of the district. I've devoted my entire career to assisting school districts in access to capital markets and in fiscal responsibility. My primary goal is providing a high quality education for every student in this district and ensuring that every student has access to the same opportunities. So I also want to thank Deborah and I want to thank Kristen and wish them the best of luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lauren. And now, as the others have, we've seen your face, we heard your answers to the questions. Just let us know how we will see your name on the ballot.
Lauren Trialons.
In the position?
First position.
Great. Thank you all. And I'm sorry to say that we're going to have to close what I think was a really wonderful and informative night. And I wanted, on behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Morris area, I want to take an opportunity before we thank everyone, just to remind them, we did mention this at the beginning of the forum, but in case some of you joined in late, there are 3 ways to vote this way. By mail, applications are due by October 29th to your local clerk. Early in-person voting begins on the 28th, runs till November 3rd, and then in-person on Election Day, November 7th, from 6 in the morning to 8 p.m. at your local voting location. You can also, as Barbara mentioned, go to the League's digital election resource, vote411.org. There's information on candidate guides, voter registration, verification, details about your unique ballot, everything you would need to know how you'd even vote in the state. So I really want to thank you for giving the opportunity to the League and to myself to moderate tonight. It was a sheer delight. And before we go, I want to thank the candidates for their participation this evening in sharing your views on the issues that are important to you and to our voters. And I want to thank our co-sponsors, which are Kimberly and Pat, for making tonight possible. and their assistance. And then finally, we want to thank the audience for joining us virtually, and we wish you all a good night and a big shout out to vote, and remind all your family and friends to get out and vote as well. Thank you all and have a nice night.